me for this discussion is retired Major Adebayo Adeleke. He is a supply chain and security expert in the U.S. Army. It's good to have you join us right now.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Now, when it comes to the issue of pipeline vandalism or pipeline explosion, it is not new to Nigeria. We've had it over and over and over again. And then when it happens, there are always accusations and counter accusations. No, it was the oil company. No, it was, militants and all of that, or maybe vandals and so on. But when the security of pipelines in Nigeria has remained a very elusive, assignment that the government has not been able to handle. Why so, if I have to ask?
So, from my knowledge and understanding of, pipeline vandalism and some of the research that has been done, most of the oil spillage that's going on in the Niger Delta area, about 28% of it actually comes from vandalism. And these things are not cheap, to actually tackle on the major pipelines of NNPC or other major oil and gas companies, and pretty much is not an endeavor that is done that can be attributed to poverty or whatnot. And I think this thing is kind of carried out with a concerted effort of organized, that has political and economic ramifications. So it's not to be somebody that is deep pockets, that has a political, kind of influence that can actually carry out such a thing. So, and more importantly, I think this thing is even more kind of permeable in an environment in which, and a community that they've already felt neglected and marginalized. So it is easier to actually convince them that, look, this is a noble thing to do, and it's probably the best in our own best interest. But in the process of doing that, of course, as you've seen on the news, it causes death, environmental issues and whatnot. It drops the, it has the economic impact as well. So, and on the security part, this thing is not, it's a complex issue.
Yeah.
Complex. And,
that is why Nigerians sit down and wonder. Nigeria is not the only oil producing country in the world.
That's correct.
When it comes to land mass of countries producing oil, Nigeria is not the, so that in case it's going to be that we have a very large spread, a very wide spread of oil pipeline network and all of that. Nigeria is not the one with the highest of all of that.
That is correct.
But it is in Nigeria we often hear this vandalism and some of this recurrence.
Yeah, because there is a social dynamics to it, which leads to political dynamics, which is there's a criminality part of it as well. But I've always, one of my mantras is that Nigeria's number one problem is security, and this can actually fall under the same umbrella. The pipelines that emanate from the Niger Delta area to other parts of the country should not be something that is public, should not be public information. And most of this pipeline actually goes through some very thick and ungodly area of Nigeria, and they shouldn't be most of these things should not be habitable. So now you have people over there, going over there, creating havoc, and with some of these things cannot be evenly, monitored by technology. So when this thing happens, it takes time and time before oil companies, the
detect whatever happens.
Exactly. And so, and unfortunately, when they go over there, they have insert valves in this thing. By the time those guys repair it, of course, this oil is being diverted something else before they realize that no, the oil is being pumped, it's not reaching the destination. So It is a security issue. It cannot be, using manpower might not be able to solve it, because when you remove manpower to secure pipeline, you kind of, depriving other areas of Nigeria that needs adequate
attention.
security.
All right, let's leave it here for now, Major Adebayo Adeleke. It's nice to have you join us, really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
Well, joining me for this discussion is retired Major Adebayo Adeleke. He is a supply chain and security expert, U.S. Army. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, ma'am.
Now, we can't deny the fact that this problem has been with us for a while now, and the government has one way or the other tried to find a solution to it, but then it seems it's such a complex issue.
It is, because it has multi-dimension to it, both economic, political, and criminality to it. But the most thing is that, just like any other country, when you vandalize a pipeline, there is a reason behind it. For most advanced economies, it's always in protest of environmental laws or due to infringement of or land encroachment. But in the case of Nigeria, it's used for money and fraud.
So we haven't actually dealt with the root?
Not at all. The root cause, we've only been dealing with the symptoms. So the root cause has to do with securing, because people that are being recruited actually to do the vandalization actually are from the communities. So how do we help? How do we make sure that this doesn't repeat itself? Is by by securing those communities. And how do we by securing those communities? Is by making sure that they are not marginalized, they are being taken care of, they're being developed. So imagine in Oyinbo area whereby they have oil spillages over there, and those areas have been cleaned up, they have schools, they have running water. So there is no reason why some of these people will actually aid those folks in doing vandalization.
But then the government, you know, interfaces with some of the opinion leaders in that in such communities. You talk about the traditional rulers and all of those. How much impact does it mean that they are not doing their job with educating the people?
I won't go that far, but at the same time, I'm not going to say that these community leaders are not doing their job. But what I know of, and this has been researched and backed, is the fact that the trickle-down economics is not getting to the people that really matters. So the community leaders are getting the necessary resources, but for some strange reason, these resources are not getting to the people that really need it, not getting to the farmers, the fishers, and those are the people that are susceptible to these oil spillages. And the reason why some of those that they actually know where those pipelines are. So it is important that whatever trickle-down economics or whatever method of resource allocation that's being used in the communities is getting to the people that is needed, not to the community leaders and the decision makers of those communities, but also to the people that really do need it, because those are the people that actually do being affected by these situations.
Now, another aspect is the question of has the government really put in place the legal and institutional framework that will ensure that whatever plan it has put in place works?
Absolutely not, because this is part of maintaining, because obviously they've been doing this Niger Delta, this so-called scheme for quite some time now, but we see little result. He has little result. So there is no, and I don't believe the framework is working. It's not being institutionalized. If it has been institutionalized, there should be a way of maintaining it and making sure there's a check and balance to it. If there is a check and balance to it, some of these things should have been eliminated a long time ago.
All right, thank you so much for your time on
Thank you,
TVC Breakfast.
Joining me for this discussion is a retired Major Adebayo Adeleke. He is a supply chain and security expert in the United States Army. It's good to have you join me right now.
Thank you so much.
Well, if you look at the issues of pipeline vandalism in Nigeria and how it has continued over time, how helpless is the Nigerian state in preventing this from happening at all?
I think it has to be a point of priority. It has never been a priority of the government because, of course, the output has never really dropped. But if Shell is reporting 11,000 barrels per day, I mean, that's huge.
That's huge.
And
exactly.
you know how much people are actually blind the black market, So in this sense, I will suggest that they put up, foot on the pedal and continue to put pressure and making sure that we cannot adequately secure these things, but at least helping the community understanding that these are national asset. I mean, I've been to, in some countries, walk around the pipelines. I just don't, it doesn't even occur to me to even tamper with it because it's not even, first thing, this thing is dangerous. Dealing with this kind of thing is quite dangerous. I mean, you require a lot of expert to actually, kind of compromise the pipeline, so talk less of it. But it takes, so in part of the whole security blanket, the whole cultural reorientation needs to happen, that this thing is a national asset. I understand that we've been marginalized into some of those areas, but at least preserve some of these things. We can't continue to have problem on top of another problem.
All right, there has been the talk of illegal miners or illegal, illegal refiners rather, who refine crude oil in a very crude way. And there was a talk, the vice president at the time, on one of his visits to the Niger Delta, was talking about, coordinating these people and forming them into a cooperative society and then putting them into the system for some kind of, a little micro, refinery and all of that. How would that help?
I guess maybe he's probably made that suggestion from his own research. But when you already have that mindset of being black market, that what is already obtainable in a structured environment is not enough for you, that you have to go be an outsider to actually gain, whatever you need to gain over there. I don't think, from my perspective, I won't make such decisions because those people will always, they're an outcast because they think differently. They'll always come back, regardless of how much you want to. They always devise a way to always go out against the system and figure it out again. So, in as much as he wants to kind of make them inclusive and make in such a way that everybody has a buy-in into these whole, the oil is a national asset, some people just don't operate and see it that way.
When it comes to ensuring security for pipelines in Nigeria, what dimension do you think they should take? A lot of people have, kicked against the use of soldiers, the use of navy, and all of that. But without them, it's obvious. Maybe the police and the civil defense are quite overwhelmed, especially the civil defense.
Yes, I don't think none of those security agencies will actually work because, first of all, they are not trained in those. Those are infrastructures. There's no part of their own, job description. I've always believed we are tribals. We operate tribally. We have over 537 ethnic groups within Nigeria. We've always operated in a communal way. So for this thing to happen, the government has to develop the community, and the community has to take it upon themselves to secure those things. If not, I don't see any saving grace.
All right. Major Adebayo Adeleke, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thank
yes.
you.
Yep.
Right.